Hello, Cubs fans, and welcome to a brand new edition of Cubs on Tap. I am Ron Luce. I feel like I haven't been on this microphone and on this show in forever, but we're back. I am joined by the Juice Man himself and Mr. Tyler Edmonds and Teddy Freddy 270. Gentlemen, I know we're talking about a Cubs loss, but how are you guys doing today on good old Hump Day? I know it doesn't feel like it because of the holiday, but how you guys doing?
Guys, it's so good to hear your voices live again. It's good to see your faces, your beautiful faces. I feel like I haven't seen you guys in forever. I'm good, man. And before we even get started, I know it's been like a week or so, but I have to congratulate Juice, Uncle Juice now.
Uncle
Congratulations on
Juice.
becoming an uncle. Yeah, guys, it's been too long since I've got to talk to you. I'm
Amen
good
to
though.
that.
I'm good.
Good, man. Amen to that. Juice, how you doing, buddy?
Doing good. Thanks, Tyler. Thanks for the congratulations. It's been a fun time. Got to see the little guy over the weekend. Been showing him Sammy Sosa hype videos and old Cub videos just to implant it in the brain. That way he becomes a Cub fan sooner rather than later. But if he takes his time, I don't blame him with the way they're playing.
That is fair. And yeah, gentlemen, even though a series win is Juice, you and Nick spoke about last night. I was in the bleachers. I don't know if anybody saw the Nico Homer highlight, but you can clearly see the great white whale that is Ron Luce right behind where that ball lands. And but gentlemen, unfortunately today the Cubs pissed one away, 2-0 lead late in the game. Ultimately allow the Rays back in it, and a good old base-sized fake rally, as our episode is titled tonight. Kind of the cherry on top for this one today, boys. I mean, we got a lot to talk about. Justin Steele, after 3 innings, perfect innings, might I add, removed. A little bit of forearm tightness is the report. It didn't seem like there was a ton of concern from what I've seen so far, but that is the diagnosis as of now. We got to see 3 2/3 really solid innings of Hayden Wesneski today. Michael Eder Jr. didn't have it today. I can't blame him too much because he's been probably one of the best Cubs bullpen arms this entire season. And again, fake rallies are the biggest daggers and heartbreakers that exist on this earth. Gentlemen, with those kind of being the overarching storylines, opening thoughts. How you guys feeling after this loss today? Like, this one just felt odd.
Like you said, Luce, we had our chances. I know sweeps are hard, and I get it. It's the Rays. But God, we had our chances today. We had our chances.
Mm-hmm.
I'm praying for Justin Steele's arm. If he needs my forearm, he can have it. Uh, Hopefully, like you guys have said, hopefully it is just a precautionary thing. Because if that guy goes down for a length of time, it's like just screw it, right? But hey, it was good to see Wesneski come in after being, sent back down to AAA. He came back up, and he kind of seemed like he got it. He kind of had his swagger back a little bit. His slider was nasty. He was hitting 94. Looked really good. I'm gonna be honest. When I saw him warm up, I got a little nervous because we know how he kind of was in the past.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, other than that, I mean, end of the game there had our chances. I know Mancini had a clutch hit, but at the same time had a little boneheaded base running mishap that maybe could have led to another run. But yeah, we blew it. We should have won. I feel like today.
100%. Juice, how you feeling after this one?
They just lose the same way over and over and over again. And I think that's what makes us the most frustrated. The fact that they have just a lack of situational hitting is something that like really irks me. Dansby Swanson, and I love Dansby, but he's got to put that ball in play with runners at second and third with one out. He just has to. He's got to find a way to make that ball go somewhere to where they have to throw it to a base, at least make a play on a baseball. I know it's tough too because the Rays have those strikeout guys at the end, but I mean that back of the bullpen is shaky for them. That's their Achilles heel. I don't know. They really have a way of making a series win against a really good baseball team feel bad, don't they?
Mhm.
Like,
Yeah.
like they should have won today. And let's be honest, like the 2 wins felt very lucky, right? Like there were a lot of breaks that they got, and we were due for some of those, but it would have just felt so much better had they won this one coming off of the sweep against the Reds. Like that it was right there for the taking, and just some like free swing stuff at the end. Like I thought that Jan Gomes and Mastroboni would have walked in the 9th to tie the game had they not swung. But what are you going to do? I mean, they're trying to be aggressive there. They're trying to put the ball in play. You can't hurt them or fault the guy for trying to make a play. But then again, too, like situation, you got to know, like it's struggling at the back of the pen. They were struggling to find the strike zone. You got to go up there and be super selective. You got to go up there and say one spot. And I think that's what kind of irks me, because this was one of those games that you totally steal, right? Like and pun intended, because your pitcher, your number one of your arguably number one pitchers comes out of the game in the 3rd inning due to an injury, and you hand it to the bullpen, and they did a damn good job. Hayden Wisniewski pitched all the way until the 7th inning before it was up to Leiter, and the Leiter move just didn't make sense to me. And I'm not the one who yells from the top of the mountain about how the manager, but if you look at the splits for Lowe, I tweeted this. The slugging is against right-handers. And in that moment, you want to stay away from power. If he gets a single on a left-handed hitter, great, you tip your cap, but it's bought you another batter. He parks it into the center field stands because you throw a right-handed pitcher out there, and he slugs double against a right-handed pitcher. It just doesn't make sense, and it's these moves that make me so frustrated at Ross, and it makes everybody who's screaming to fire the guy, it starts to make me move and think, are they right? Because there are these moments where you just go, what was that for? It just never made sense, and especially with Brandon Hughes, like that slider and that breaking stuff working away from Lowe in that moment, like that was the time to use Hughes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and let's dive into that here a little bit, because I feel like we got to see a lot of it, I think, over Memorial Day weekend, and even in yesterday's game, being there in attendance. I think we're starting to see a lot of these decisions that become a little more questionable. And I think, too, with the Leiter thing today, because I know there's a lot of people barking on Twitter about, well, he's got great splits against lefties. Sure, true. Factual information. But Hughes was pretty fresh. Like, you didn't use Hughes at all yesterday. He warmed up. I promise. I saw it. He was warming up, but that's about it. That's all he did yesterday. He didn't get used. You had him fresh out of the pen. Leiter pitched yesterday, albeit not a ton of work. And I think he only threw like 15 pitches or whatever. But it's just the point that I feel like with bullpen arms, you can't just like ride the hot hand, because just because a guy's hot one day doesn't mean he's going to have it the next. And maybe he doesn't have his best stuff the next day because he was just used the day before. And I think I would be a little more forgivable had this not been a night to day game as well, right? Like they didn't even get a full 24 hours between first pitches. Like when it's one of these quick flips, wouldn't you want to use the fresher arms? Like I would think you would want to see Brandon Hughes. I would have thought we would have maybe seen a Jeremiah Estrada today, right? Because even though Alzolay looked good, we saw 2 innings of Alzolay last night. We saw an inning of Merriweather last night, right? We saw an inning of Leiter last night. And yet all 3 of these guys came out of the pen again today. I know some of it is obviously that they don't trust everybody in that bullpen, and understandably so, because truthfully that bullpen has not given a whole lot of reason to be trusted. But I'm right there with you, Juice. I think in that situation, you're one left-handed fucking bullpen arm. I was really trying to keep the episode from being explicit.
I know.
I was trying my hardest.
That's okay.
But the one time you have your left-hander out of the pen that's fresh, and you don't use them. And I think it really is just like is Ross trying to ride the hot hand? Again, if that was a 7:00 start today and they pitch Leiter again, it's a little more forgivable. But you just used Leiter yesterday. You just used Alzolay yesterday. And sure, Alzolay fought through it, but water finds its level. Not everybody's going to be able to compete the same way off of that short of rest. So I agree with you, Juice. I think that was a really interesting decision today. And again, I think we've started to see a lot more of this, to your point, where it really does start to make these wins. Like, this is a winning series. I don't think any Cubs fan feels great coming out of this series, though, as a result of it. Tyler, you want to expand on that?
Yeah, because it's just like kind of Juice what you said earlier about it being frustrating as far as needing this, to get this sweep, to bounce off from the sweep that we just got, swept from.
Mm-hmm.
It's just head scratching because it like today's loss, kind of like you guys have already said, it's almost just like a kick in the nuts to the whole series, because had Stroman not been lights out Monday, who knows what would have happened. And yesterday kind of felt like ball drops in between Lau and whoever's playing. Right?
Lau and Low.
Lau and Low.
Yeah.
That ball doesn't drop. Do we win that series? I don't know. Horner had the nice leadoff home run to begin the game, but who knows what would have happened. And so, like, it just puts this team in that little – it's just the roller coaster all season long. Like, it's just, oh, we're winning, we're looking good in April, and now, oh, God, we just got smacked around by the Cincinnati Reds. And even though we won this series against the Rays, like, we still don't know what their identity is and what's like. And they had Jed Hoyer on the broadcast today. Like, what are they doing? What are they going to do when he talked about Cody Bellinger, who's might be coming back sooner rather than later? He says he's kind of still working through his injury or whatever. But it's like, what are we doing? And this series, even though we won, I'm not like, it doesn't have me excited as like, oh man, we're competitors now. We're going to compete for this division and yada, yada, yada. It just doesn't feel that way. And, heading to San Diego this weekend, we could turn around and get swept just like we just got swept last weekend. So, yeah, it's just a big head scratcher as far as what are we doing,
Yeah, and two, like Tyler, to build on that, talking about, the winning the division. I think I was reading somewhere that Stats had it that the winner of the Central probably has close to 85 wins in this moment. The Cubs right now are 24-31, around there.
Something like that, yeah.
They'd have to win 60 games over the next, 100? 60 and 40? Yeah. Around there, give or take. My math's probably not 100% accurate on that, but 60 games is right. You're going to have to win 60 games to win the division. You feel comfortable with this team to win 60 games over the course of the next couple months? I don't. I mean, especially with this schedule coming up. I mean, this next trip could push them out to where we're not even thinking about that anymore.
I agree. I feel like these next 2 weeks, and I know we'll talk about it, like with our guy Tony that just brought it up. Like, these next 2 weeks could be a major answer as far as who's going, who's staying. Maybe we call up some of the young guys and just say, screw it, this season's over. Let's see what the farm has to offer, and what can we get out of some of these guys that we got that are doing pretty good. Who says these next 2 weeks doesn't give us that answer?
Yeah.
I don't want to say it's too – I hate – it may be a little too early, but –
it's never too early anymore.
It's like, why not?
I don't think they're trading Marcus Stroman. Just to answer the question that's at the bottom here. I don't think so. Because I think that they're closer to competing than they are to rebuilding. Mm-hmm. And I think that the offseason, you add a few pieces and you're probably even closer, and this division's going to get even easier to win, in my opinion. I mean, I like the Reds team, but they're young, and they're still the Reds. And they'll always still be the Reds. Mm-hmm. And Milwaukee's probably going to have one of those big arms move sooner rather than later. And the Cardinals, I just don't trust that they can player develop anymore. I don't. it's been a while since, we've talked about guys who realistically from that franchise are able to still scout and to bring in. I mean, I feel like with Kantrovitz leaving that moment too, and then just kind of overshadowing with the Wilson Contreras, like it just shows me that their analytics department and their inside scouting is further away from the Cardinal way than ever, in my opinion. And after that, I mean, are the Pirates ever going to put it together? I mean, they're a team of like, the 2012, 2014 roster that looks good. I mean, you have an old Andrew McCutchen and that, but like the Central is wide open. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, with adding a big name free agent on this team, hopefully a top of the line pitcher and, another bat, the Cubs could, with a healthy crew, could be good again next year and address the bull. This frustrating thing is if they win just half of their one-run games, they're probably in second place in the Central right now.
Yeah,
that's what's so frustrating about it. They just keep losing and losing and losing type ball games. And I get like the idea of trading Stroman for pieces, but you gotta, if you're gonna do that, you gotta have guys who are coming back who are ready to play in the big leagues. Like when they come, like when you make that trade, they're not going to Iowa. They're coming right to Chicago to help you win right now, and they're on controllable long contracts. But I don't think the Cubs are like in that spot where trading makes sense. And that's the odd thing. Unless they were able to like have a workaround with Stroman, hey, we're going to trade you, at the deadline, but you opt out of your deal, and then I'm going to re-sign you for, 4 or 5 years with, this amount of money. Yeah, I'm okay with that. But the problem is that that's never guaranteed. And I think Stroman right now, with how much he talks about Wrigley, probably isn't open enough to want to be traded. He loves pitching here, loves being here. He wants to win here, opposed to, just giving up on the whole thing and going somewhere else. But I don't know.
Well, and on top of it, Juice, like I know when Tony brings up some takes, like these are just slapdick fans probably that are out there saying, well, yeah, go get more pieces. Just keep getting more pieces. Until what? Until you're never competitive? Like you said, Juice, like they're closer to winning now. They've done their sell. You don't go and get Dansby Swanson in this offseason and sign him to the big money that you signed him to then go turn around and trade your arguably best starting pitcher because, right? Because you're having a bad year or a bad start to the year. There also wouldn't be reports that they've approached Stroman already about an extension if they thought about trading him.
Well, yeah, that's another thing too. Like the extensions for Happ and Nico don't make sense if you're trading those guys either.
Right, because now is the beginning of the competitive window, and I think 2023 was always meant to be a weird, either they were going to overachieve or underachieve kind of year. But you can't just keep dealing pieces and expect it to just click. It doesn't work that way. Right. You eventually have to just settle down and say, okay, we have some pieces here that we're going to try and go win with. And I think Marcus Stroman is one of those pieces. He's a pitcher that's going to age well because he does not pitch heat. He doesn't throw like a Kyle Hendricks, but everything he throws is with movement. So that's going to age well. He's an incredible athlete. That alone is going to age well. And you can very easily, in my opinion, he's making 25 right now. You gave him maybe a $4 to $5 million bump per year for another 3 years. That's a very reasonable deal for a guy like Marcus Stroman. And quite frankly, like you're not getting better if you trade him. He doesn't come back and then you go sign the starting pitcher in free agency.
No, you're taking away from what you need. I think too, there's not a large enough sample size that the group doesn't work. For example, like there's teams that are out there right now that have had their competitive window open and realized it's not working with that group of players. I think the Cubs are in a really different spot because April showed it worked in some sense when they were all healthy. Sure. May did not. So you can't just go off of 2 months worth of the sample size and say, yeah, this is 100% what this team is. No, baseball is a lot longer than that. But I look at this Cubs team, I look at the roster, and the reason I picked that they had 78 wins, this was when we started this show this season. We had our season breakdown. I said 78 wins. They have a lot of good players. They don't have a lot of great players. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm talking about the guy in the lineup that you worry about 3 hitters before, the pitcher that you worry about 3 days before. Like, and that's what you need. You need 1 or 2 of those just base guys in that middle of that lineup that you have to game plan around, and then surround them. Let's be honest, guys. Like, without Cody Bellinger, and Seiya Suzuki was out, Dansby Swanson was the best guy in that lineup for a good amount of time. Dansby Swanson on the Braves was like their 5th best hitter when they won the World Series. So that's where this Cubs team is at. They need to get Dansby Swanson to be like their 4th best player in the lineup. And Seiya Suzuki is hitting, and he's becoming that, and I feel comfortable there. But there's still, like, when you don't have Bellinger and you don't have a middle of the lineup guy that, like, you can count on to be like 100 RBIs, 30 home runs in that dab set. Like, I love Ian Happ, but Ian Happ is not a 3-hole hitter. He's just not. He's that nice 5 hitter. And that's the Cubs. That's why 78 wins and they're a year away. That's my 2 cents on it. I think that they could be real creative in the offseason. But if they blow this thing up over a case of like 1 month of bad baseball, I'll be a little upset with that.
Yeah, 100%. It feels way too soon to just blow up something that you're trying to see if it works. And Tyler, entirely to your point, though, I do think June is going to be a month where we start to see water find its level, right? Because we saw what this team can be when they're really, really good in April. And then we saw what this team can be when they're a little banged up and they're not so good in May. I think we see a mix of that in June. And I think we see a better version of this team in June with still a couple of these frustrating losses, but not nearly as frequent and just constant as it's felt in the month of May. And I know we're all kind of I guess sour. We're all taking after Juice here and being the sour Juice here today, maybe just a tad. But still some good things, I think, in this game that really got overshadowed, unfortunately, by just some really timely hitting by the best team in baseball, frankly. And 3 perfect innings out of Justin Steele before getting pulled. That's awesome. And if it was purely precautionary and they're just like, we're just trying to save one of our 2 workhorses, that's fine. I'll live with this, him being pulled after 3. But we know what Justin is, right? We know what friend of the program Justin Steele is. He's a monster. He's a beast. He is that lefty in this Cubs rotation. I am so impressed, though, with what we saw out of Hayden Wesneski today. Because I don't even think we saw him with his best stuff. Nope. But he battled. And Juice, I know you always talk about that. He battled. And he battled for 3 2/3 very solid innings. He got charged with a 1 earned run, but only 2 walks, just 1 hit, and 4 strikeouts. That's a very nice day for Hayden Wesneski. If this kind of coming out of the bullpen kind of helps him regain maybe some of that confidence and allows him to work on things a little more, maybe we see Hayden Wesneski return to that form that got all of us so excited from a season ago. And I would love to hear from both of you guys just a little more in depth on what you think about Wesneski's day today.
Oh, I agree. To be honest, I think he should have, to go back to what Juice you said earlier, I think they should have just kept him in. I know he had that 1 walk right there to get was it a Rosarina he walked to?
On a pitch that I don't know how a Rosarina did.
Yeah, I was going to say it was a really close pitch. Screw it. Why not let him stay in? He only threw 59 pitches. But I agree, Ron. I think let him do this bullpen role. Give him the Javier Assad type bullpen role to maybe get his confidence up. And I know Ross said yesterday that his plan right now is to leave him in the bullpen for a little bit. But his ultimate goal for him is to get back into the rotation, which, as we know right now, could be kind of just depending on who he decides to take out of that rotation, or maybe they go with the 6-man rotation. I don't know. But he looked nasty. He was West Nasty today. And like you said, maybe didn't even have his best stuff because he's used this season, at least this season, he's been used to starting games. And we all know that's a different mindset as far as coming into a game or starting a game, whatever. But it's promising. It's really promising. I know there's one guy in the rotation right now that I wouldn't be upset if he replaced this guy, but I'm pretty sure he's not going to get replaced just because his contract, what we're paying him, he's pitching Friday. But anyways, I like what I saw from him.
Heck yeah, really quick, Juice, before you get into this. I thought of today when Wesneski was called up yesterday and then they said was coming out of the pen, and it really hit me today, and I actually thought about it more, is the clip of you and I having that exact discussion of, you think Hayden ever comes out of the pen? And I'm just sitting there, nope, he's going to be in AAA starting, and then sure as shit, they bring him up like it. I just thought it was funny. It was just another one of those I look back on and I'm like, wow, that did not age well at all. But as are a lot of my takes, unfortunately, here on this show. Juice, but your thoughts, buddy, on Wesneski today?
Dude, Tyler hit the nail on the head with the 6-man rotation, because I was just counting on the schedule there. They have 19 games in 20 days coming up again. So I wonder if you go 6-man rotation, you can save some arms. But the whole thing about it, having a 6-man rotation, is making sure that each of the 6 are competitive every time they come out, because you're sacrificing either a bench spot or you're sacrificing another arm in that bullpen. And with the way that the bullpen is scheduled right now and the way it looks, I think that Ross would probably rather have an extra arm out there just to be, have something to play with a little bit. But I thought Hayden, and you're right, Rod, he didn't have his best stuff, but I actually looked back. I think it was the 6th inning, right before he got pulled in the 7th. And I think he finally found that slider sweeper feel, because I felt for so long, and I thought I said it on this show at least a couple times during his starts, that he was overthrowing his slider a lot, trying to get too much movement on it. And when you do that, you pull it, and when you pull it, it's not a competitive pitch. I think he finally found that happy medium. It's almost like a golf swing. If you overswing, you're going to be all over the rough. You're going to be to the right of the trees, to the left. He finally found that nice, smooth pass. And in that 6th inning, he carved out a lot of great sweepers. He had the front door one, I think, on a Rosarena to get strike 1, or it might have been to get strike 2, was my favorite. Threw it right at his side, ended up right on the inside corner. Rosarena had no shot to get to that baseball. With Hayden, too, I mean, it's got to be with a grain of salt, because they were going into that lineup expecting to see Justin Steele. So they packed it with right-handers, right? Mm-hmm. So the splits were beneficial to Hayden. And with one of the only lefties in Lowe, it was, I mean, he's been horrible this year, minus against right-handed pitching, which we talked about earlier. But it's one of those days where I think it's confidence builder, because you get the lineup where you want. It was a smart move by Ross to be precautionary. And I mean, he could have went to, anybody, because the bullpen was pretty much less than taxed. You had Stroman go the complete gamer on Monday, and then he didn't use too many names yesterday. So, I mean, he really could have went anywhere today with anybody. God, that game just feels so much like you could have just stole it, and they didn't. And when a team like that gives you that type of game, like, it just doesn't make sense to not go ahead and win it. I was fine with Leiter pitching the Wolf. I wasn't fine with Leiter coming out to start the 8th. It was clear he didn't have his best stuff. So at that moment, too, I was like, why don't you just go to Elsley? You have an off day. You could bridge it to the 9th and then figure out the 9th from there. You could have went with, anybody from – you probably wouldn't want to see Fulmer there, but depending on the lineup, you could have had Hughes close the ball game if you had him up and ready to go then. Or maybe you flip it that way and you went Hughes in the 8th and Alzolay in the 9th to get the save. But just it becomes more and more difficult to be on the hill of like, just give David Ross some time. It's going to be okay, when moves like this just frustrate the hell out of you. And the numbers are right in front of him. It just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I agree. I think it definitely made for an interesting game. But agreed, I'm very, very pleased with the confidence builder that I think it was for Wesneski today. And really, you look at it, right? Like, stealing Wesneski, sensational. Alzolay, good. Merriweather walked a couple guys, but didn't allow a run. Fulmer got out of a jam. Overall, everybody pitched really well today. Leiter just gave up really just a couple bad pitches, and that was ultimately the difference. And like you said, Juice, I think this one pains a little bit just because it felt like one they could have stolen. Guys, I kind of want to open it up because, again, there wasn't a ton of offense to talk about, obviously. This team really has just been skating by the fly, seam of their pants here at this point with the amount of runs they've been putting up on a game-to-game basis. Kind of want to start getting into some final thoughts as we put this Rays series to bed, and we look forward to this West Coast trip that's coming up here starting on Friday. Juice, go ahead, and the floor is yours, buddy. What do you got for us here? Final thoughts.
Just start hitting the baseball. Like, everything gets so much easier if they could just score more than 4, 3, 2 runs a game. Like, put crooked numbers up again. I know it's tough. They really miss Cody Bellinger. Me and Nick talked about it last night. The lineup looks totally different when you have a guy like that in the center of it. And Tauchman's done a good job. He had another hit today, another 2-out hit too. They'll probably keep him, around, but it's just start putting up crooked numbers again, because I don't think any of us could, stomach these 4, 3, 2, 1 run performances anymore. It's starting to get a little old.
Yeah, 100%. Tyler?
I agree. Start hitting the freaking ball. I know one guy, a lot of guys probably have lost a little bit of confidence in him, Matt Mervis. Look, we know what he's capable of doing. We've seen it in the minor leagues. Let me tell you guys somebody. I'll just compare him to somebody. Okay, he's had 64, 65 at-bats so far. Another guy, his first 63 at-bats of his career, another first baseman, 175, 316, 349 slash, 11 hits, 1 home run. That guy's Anthony Rizzo.
Yep.
Yeah. So and I'm not trying to, and for all you guys out there that want to compare Matt Mervis to Rizzo, compare Mervis, hey, you've got to fill this guy's shoes. Eat a bag of poop. Eat a bag of my dog's poop. Like, do not do that to him. That's so unfair. So don't do that. But we all know what that guy turned out to be. I'm telling you, Matt Mervis, he's going to come around. I know maybe he's probably trying a little bit too hard right now. Maybe he's trying to hit the ball 500 feet. Relax. It's coming. It's coming. I hope so. And these freaking 6, 7, 8 run games, hopefully they're just around the corner too. Maybe this weekend in San Diego.
Tyler, were those stats from when he was with Boston?
When he was with it was when he was with the Padres, when he first got called up in 2011. Yeah.
Okay.
Now I get it. Yeah, he had to get traded. And all
No. I'm just curious because timeline makes sense on that. He's very close to the same kind of age, same kind of pedigree that Rizzo had.
Yeah, and as Bernie says here, Rizzo had to come around. How we forget it. Time does that to you, right? Quickly,
we know he's got the power.
Oh, sure. Yeah, we've seen it on display. Really quick, Tony the Blind one is saying, "Sup guys?" His final thought: Wisdom needs to stop being a worthless POS. For over 30 games now, he's been striking out at over 42% of his plate appearances, hitting way under 200. I think that was meant for Scott for Iowa. Sorry, buddy. But fair. I think there is kind of that desire for the power. I will say, I was at the game on Sunday when he had the 2 bombs. That first one he hit, we were in the second to last row of the left field bleachers, and that ball hit a row underneath us. So that thing was an absolute piss missile. He's got it. but he's just got to do it a little
Hey, defensively, I know he had 2 really good plays today too.
He did. I think the problem, kind of to Juice's point, I think there's so much of this lineup right now that our guys are trying to do too much because they're missing guys like Belly, and their guys are still kind of finding their roles in this lineup. I really think that's kind of what's going on right now. So hopefully, again, kind of that, water finds its level theme, as this team starts to get healthy, some of these guys will start to make things happen. Guys, my final thought, I saw today they started to finally promote like the All-Star game voting. And my initial thought was looking at the 9 that they considered for each position, right, as the starters on this Cubs team. I said there is really no one that I would say is worth an All-Star vote, unfortunately. That's not a pitcher on this Cubs team. Because to me, your 2 All-Stars are Steele and Stroh. That's just plain and simple. However, one guy I will make a case for, and this is my final thought, because he's been red hot, is one Seiya Suzuki. And if this dude continues to hit the way he has, that Minnesota series, remember that Minnesota series when we talk at the end of the season with Suzuki, because that was the series that I think he truly felt healthy, and you're starting to see it come around. That series, his average, I believe, was like a 211, and his OPS was like a 711. Homeboy is now up to, after today, with 2 hits, a 293 batting average and a 872 OPS. That's hot. And that's over, 3 weeks that he's brought it up that much?
He's been hitting the ball hard,
too. Right. Both of his hits last night when I was there were like 110 mile per hour singles. Right. The guy is hitting the shit out of the baseball right now. I think the power comes. We've seen a little bit of it. I think the power's coming, but holy shit. That is a guy right now that you combine him with Belly and this lineup balances itself out again, to your guys' point. I think we start to see a lot more crooked numbers in some of these upcoming Cubs games. And they have a good opportunity coming this weekend because, gentlemen, as we turn our focus forward, we'll go ahead and at least preview the first 3 games of this 4-game set with the Padres, or at least discuss the pitching matchups and just throw them out there. The Cubs are venturing to the West Coast. It is a 10-game swing on the West Coast, 4 against the Padres starting on Friday. Then they have 3 in the middle of the week with the California / Los Angeles of Anaheim / whatever you want to call them, Angels, before they conclude that trip with a trip to the Bay, and they take on the San Francisco Giants then to round that out a week from this coming weekend. On Friday, as Tyler kind of alluded to earlier, it will be Jameson Taillon versus Michael Wacha, a guy that Cubs fans are very familiar with from his time in St. Louis. That's an 8:40 start locally in the Chicagoland market. Saturday's game is a good old 9:10 start. It'll be a late one. It's the left-hander Drew Smiley against old friend Yu Darvish on the bump. And then Sunday's game will be Stroh on the bump for the Cubbies. That's a 4:30 Central Time start. San Diego starter TBD. We will see Hendricks again on Monday, but that game we will preview on our Sunday show. So, gentlemen, thoughts for this upcoming series against the Padres? What do the Cubs need to do to get back on the board? If you want to regurgitate your final thoughts, because I feel like we're all kind of on that board here. But hammer away. Tyler, we'll give you the floor first here, buddy.
Well, to repeat it again, as far as Friday, as you can see who's on the mound, I'm going to have to hit the baseball. I called Jameson Taillon out about 2 or 3 weeks ago. It didn't help. Now, I will say he had a 6.66 ERA 2 weeks ago, and he fixed that. It's now an 8+ ERA. Yikes. But look, we're going to have to hit the ball with that guy on the mound. Whatever we get out of him is whatever. Maybe, no, I wouldn't think we see Wesneski on Friday. That'd be too soon. But bullpen's going to probably have to be ready. But yeah. And then Saturday we got Drew Smiley against Yu Darvish. That's going to be, I think that'll be a good matchup. And the Stroh show on Sunday. But not to beat the same drum over and over. What is it? Beat a dead horse, whatever you call it. You're going to have to hit the freaking ball starting Friday, because Friday, That's
Juice.
what I got to say about Friday.
What you got?
All I'm going to say is hopefully they can win this series, but on Saturday I will be unable to watch. I will be at one Taylor Swift. So I'm going to try my best. So I'm going to try my best to do a little preview with only Taylor Swift titles of songs here. And if I can do it, then it'll be a miracle.
Please do.
Well, we all just need to calm down because they belong with me. If we just settle down, we'll at the end of the season we'll have champagne problems. I don't know about you, but we're gonna hit 22 home runs this series. I know it all too well. We'll do it in style, and I hope they never shake it off. And if they don't, it'll be one cruel summer.
Put him on the freaking stage right now.
That's incredible. I absolutely love that, Juice. Hey, man, I hope they hit 22 home runs this series. They hit 22 home runs in these 4 games. We are going to have some champagne problems at the end of it, and we're going to have a good time with it. Gentlemen, I'm right there with you guys. This offense just needs to come back to life. They need to pick it up. Go on the West Coast. Enjoy yourself out in beautiful San Diego. Get some runs. A couple of night games. You got a day game on Sunday, another night game then on Monday to round out that series. Just go get the job done. Hopefully Belly comes back toward the end of this series, or toward the end of this road trip, and this offense just gets going again, because sure as shit they need it. It's really nerve-wracking when you have a 2-run lead and you're just like, this is not good. This isn't good. They need more, because you just know what can happen with the bullpen. So I am right there with you guys. Gentlemen, before we get out of here, I want to remind everybody, Cubs on Tap, one of 2 official Cubs podcasts of the On Tap Sports Network. Our friends weren't live because of the holiday this past week, but be sure to follow our friends, the Dingers podcast. They'll be live a week from this past Monday, so they will be live the night of that final Padres game. You'll probably hear from us as well, with it being a later game. We will probably follow them here on the On Tap Sports Network. But be sure to follow them at Dinger Cubs on Twitter and Instagram. The whole crew does a great job covering the Cubs as well. Be sure to follow us as well at Cubbies on Tap on Twitter and Instagram as well. He is at Juice on Tap to my I'm all backwards. To my right, your left, you get it. Juice on Tap at Teddy Freddy 270 at Joey Knows Nothing at Nick_on Tap. I am at Loose on Tap. Be sure to follow all of us at Bulls Guy Rob as well, our prospect guy, talking about all the Cubs prospects over the course of the full system. You know the drill. Bears, Bulls, Blackhawks. We got the whole deal. Bears on Tap was live tonight. Be sure to go listen to that. Great conversation with Mr. Robert Schmitz about the state of the Chicago Bears. And gentlemen, they're finally kind of as good, I guess, record-wise as the Cubs. They've been playing better baseball, but they're still the shitbag White Sox. So send your friends that like the shitbags to our friends that like the shitbags. Sox on Tap was alive just a little while ago, but they do a great job covering the boys at 35th and Shields. OnTapSportsNet.com and OnTapSportsNet on social media. The OnTap Sports Network. Go ahead and check out what's on tap in Chicago sports. Gentlemen, it was a pleasure being back on the microphone with you guys. It has been too long. No show from us tomorrow. It is an off day on June 1st, this coming Thursday. And then Friday might be a show, might not be a show. If it is, it'll be of the after dark variety. If not, we will be back with you on Sunday to talk about a couple of games in San Diego before we ramp up with some West Coast Cubs on Tap after darks and entering next week. What do you say, boys? We get out of here the only way we know how. A Cubs on Tap.
Fuck the Cardinals.
Let's go Cubbies.
And let's go Cubbies.
Taylor, I can't wait to shake your hand.